We're no longer hemorrhaging basketball transfers. We actually stopped the bleeding in a really good way this time around. And don't look now, but with the help of Brian Nardo, we might have the number 24 overall recruiting class in the country in football.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall, and I want to thank you kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen. Here on Locked On Oklahoma State, we are available on all of your podcasting platforms, as well as YouTube. You can find me on Twitter at AllDayOState. Today, we are brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook betting partner. So in basketball, we expect good recruiting classes, right? And last year, when it came to football recruiting, it was not the greatest in the world, right? At this point in time last year, we were sitting at like 80th in the country in recruiting. And I do know that there's going to be a lot of things that are inevitably going to end up changing when it comes to the rankings. And this is like from 247, but no matter how you slice it, no matter what prognostication you look at, Brian Nardo is already affecting the recruiting scene. So if you notice, we have had some recruits recently kind of join the fold. The first of which being Josh Ford, the tight end from Stillwater High School at 6'5", 230 pounds. This dude plays with a lot of nasty, a lot of tenacity. He's actually very good side-to-side lateral movement. He has good vision. He's good at disengaging from the blockers so he doesn't get bogged down in the middle, which obviously creates a lot of ability for the running back to find more holes, right? He gets to the second level very, very well. So he's somebody that, yes, it might be developmental, but it's a true tight end that does play tight end that has that nasty streak that you're already looking at. And, you know, he recruited so early on, I feel like people might be forgetting he's a legit 3-star prospect that's going to have some abilities to enhance that, especially at the tight end position. And then you have somebody like Will Smith, the edge rusher, 6'3", 240 pounds out of Choctaw, Oklahoma. Got to play a little bit with Deshaun Brown. And Deshaun Brown is somebody that you guys know I'm very, very, very high on for this season. More of a developmental type than a Deshaun Brown. Deshaun Brown came in ready to rock and roll for the most part. He went through the body-by-glass system now twice. He's going to see the field a lot this year, right? When you see a random wide receiver number running around doing crazy stuff on defense, is probably going to be Deshaun Brown. So Will Smith's going to have some time to build into it. But again, anybody who's walking around at 6'3", 240, they're not too far away from being ready to rock and roll. And then you have somebody like a Rodney Fields. I guess he's going to end up playing wide receiver or running back at Oklahoma State University. I do feel like that there's a good probability he gets slid out to the wide receiver room. I don't know. I know that's not exactly what he wants to do, but at 5'9", $185, the film doesn't lie. He's a legit 3-star prospect at that position for a reason. He has really good hands out of the backfield. He whenever he goes on his wheel routes, he's really good about deceiving the linebackers and making them think that something else is coming before he sneaks out and he's too far beyond you before you can even catch up. So it's going to be interesting to see where he kind of shakes out. And then you have Caleb Hackleman, which is the new offensive lineman that we just got recently from Texarkana, Texas. 6'6", 275 pounds. He's another guy kind of falls in that Jack and Dean style in my personal opinion. And we all know that what Jack and Dean right now doing as a freshman is pushing for playing time. He's one of the people that was pushing Caleb Etienne essentially out the door. So I think Caleb Hackleman's not only a prospect that we should be excited about, because we've all known for quite some time that the offensive line recruiting has been a difficulty. Now, different than Jack and Dean, Caleb Hackleman is projected as an interior guy, and it appears as though that's where he'll be at Oklahoma State as well. We do love people that can maneuver all over the chessboard in a multitude of positions, but I think he's not really your quick twitch tackle type of dude. So he's probably going to remain interior offensive lineman, which is fine. This is great. You have to have those dudes. And again, at that size, we should be just fine in that department. And then we get to what I would view as the exciting ones, okay? Not that those guys are not exciting, but this is the defensive side of the ball. When you first click on and pay attention to somebody like a Jaylen Boardley, also from Pleasant Grove, Texarkana, Texas. He's 6'1", 190, but he does not play like 6'1", 190 whatsoever. His ability to read and react, it's pretty spot on. He's really good at leverage, always gets to the outside shoulder for the ball carrier, prevents some of the angles, whether it be a cutback or if he's going to be forced outside. He's really good at shading on the proper hip to diagnose where the play's going. He's really good at stringing plays out from sideline to sideline. When he puts his foot in the ground, it is an impressive thing to watch. And, this is going to be an interesting one to maintain, because we already beat out people like Auburn, right? And Baylor and Houston and LSU and Texas Tech and SMU. So can we maintain? I think we can. We've got a good relationship. He's coming with a buddy of his from high school. So that's always going to be something that you can help bounce off ideas with your buddy, especially if you see things from a little bit of a commonality perspective, right? We're sticking with the vein of defense because the next commit that I think we should all be very excited about has been committed for a while, so maybe we forget, but Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson is a 4-star in some of the services, right? The recruiting services that you look at. And I think it'll only get better. The difficulty here for me is being able to hold off Colorado for the entirety of a season. I mean, even holding off OU for an entire season. These are not easy things to do. But Brian Nardo is the type of guy that builds these relationships that are going to make people want to stay. Because Willie's been committed for quite some time now. And we haven't even really heard about him getting messed with a lot, which typically means it's being kept on the down low or the dude's legitimately just very committed. And at 5'9", 170, that's going to change. That's going to uptick, especially when you hit the body by glass system. He's going to turn into a different style of player. He's going to morph into a different style of player. But even right now, I think you could say he's in the same breath as a Cam Franklin, right? He has that type of athleticism, versatility. We're going to be able to use him in a multitude of areas. He's a multi-sport guy. We know that Coach Gundy loves his multi-sport guys, right? He runs an 11.4 in the 100 in the track, runs a 23.7 in the 200 in track. He's also got a really extensive ability in the long jump, right? It shows that range. It shows that tenacity that he can have when you factor in all of the biomechanics that he has naturally. There's a reason that these big-time programs are on him. There's a reason that there's some prognostications out there have him as a 4-star. And I, for one, am very excited to see what he's going to end up being able to do. And now we get to the latest, the newest, the commit that not very many people saw coming, myself included, because Landyn Cleveland, another safety, 6', 190 out of Mansfield Legacy. He's another one we've had to battle off, Auburn and KU and Michigan and Nebraska, Penn State, Mississippi State, Texas Tech. Obviously, Washington has been in the mix as well, Arkansas, Arizona State, Arizona. But he's choosing Oklahoma State University. And when you see the things that he said in interviews, a large part of it, as far as the commitment side of it, has been Coach Nardo, which is absolutely phenomenal because he hasn't been here very long. And you and I both know that Coach Brian Nardo was not out there recruiting 4-star safeties on a regular basis. So again, we knew that he was going to have a unique ability to get into living rooms. Whether he was going to get a bunch of yeses or a bunch of nos, he was going to be able to build those relationships, and most likely, because he's so genuine, it was going to put him in the good graces of a lot of parents as well. And parents and high school coaches, they still have an integral role in the recruiting process for your child. It's not as much as it used to be, right? There's a lot of other things that recruits now weigh when they're looking at your university. But this is a huge get. And again, kind of like Jaylen, I'm afraid it's somebody that we're going to have to pay attention to keeping. But you do not see a lot of people stressing and freaking out about it. You do see some people stressing in a good way at the fact that we currently have the number 24 ranked recruiting class in the country in football. There's a lot that can happen. There's a lot that can change. It's still a numbers game, and we're only got 7 commits, so it's not like we're way up there in the numbers game. But between Jaylen Boardley, Willie Nelson, and Landyn Cleveland, these are all guys that are probably going to be able to compete immediately. I think Landyn Cleveland, I was watching film and I was trying to think of comps. Like body-wise, he's a good Gerald Moreau type. Well, we had a guy, is it Lindell Johnson, that actually left Oklahoma State to go to Emporia State when Coach Brian Nardo was there. Physically, he's kind of like that as well. But the more I looked, and I finally landed on a pretty good comp. He moves a lot like Kendall Daniels, but he's not 6'4", 6'5", 235 pounds either, like Kendall Daniels. So it's not exactly fair. Moves a lot like Kendall, but he loves to hit. He loves to take the top off of any wide receiver. Therefore, and body-wise, I think I'm going to go with the Markel Martin comp there. Landyn Cleveland is somebody that would be pushing for starting time immediately. And I think Willie Nelson could be somebody that does that as well. I just don't know exactly where he's going to fit. You know where Landyn Cleveland's going to fit. He's going to fit perfectly right behind Lyric Rawls, right behind a Kendall Daniels, right behind even, you're hearing a lot of good things about the Kelvin Beeman recently. We haven't even got to talk about the cornerbacks yet, but there's a couple names at cornerback that keep popping up. I will say this before we get to the cornerback position, it's the hardest for me to diagnose all the film because there's just the most amount of people. But one thing I will say most definitely is coming into the season, I was, coming in the spring, I was telling people not to be too stressed out about losing Jabbar Muhammad because we got somebody coming in named Ladarius Webb Jr. that was going to do everything Jabbar Muhammad was going to do plus some. And then when he gets here, he hits like a Mack truck. He's just so out of position at cornerback because he plays with the most nasty you can ever find out of a corner. And we moved him to safety. Does that tell you that we were so, I don't know, in a position of need at safety? Or does it tell you they're actually pretty squared away at cornerback, so we didn't need him there? He would be the starter at corner, no doubt. But we don't need him to be. And he hits like a Mack truck, so he's now a safety at Oklahoma State. That's what I'll say when it comes to the cornerback position. It's not one to be super, super stressed about, in my opinion. It's just not. So when you look at all of this and the football side of things, we should all be happy. And I know there's a little bit of reserved optimism in regards to football recruiting because we've seen it go sideways, but we also saw us bring in the number one transfer class in the country all the way to signing day. On 3 Sports had us registered as number one in the transfer class. Does it make up for all that we lost? Actually, it looks like yes. There's a couple dudes that we lost that we're not going to be able to replace that production. But by and large, we've been talking about this is a different Gundy. But we also need to talk about my homies over there at FanDuel. You already know it's America's number one sports book. And right now it's baseball season, right? And the beauty of baseball, it's a very simplistic game, right? But the walk-off home runs, the walk-off plays, the double plays, pitcher throwing a no-hitter, pitcher throwing a perfect game, game-tying grand slam. Those feelings you get are just like football. It's just you got to wait sometimes a little bit longer to get them, but they're just as fulfilling. And right now, our new customers are getting the no-sweat first bet. Again, that is up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet does not win. So do yourself a favor. Do not miss your opportunity to get your hands on this no-sweat first bet. Again, it's up to $1,000 back when you join FanDuel today in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up today. FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL, NBA, and right now, Major League Baseball. All right. So the stock on Brian Nardo is just going to keep going up. So we just need to keep buying it. And now we get to shift a little bit to basketball. Now, as you all know, we've been losing transfers left and right. And unlike losing a bunch of backup transfers in football, basketball is a little different. You don't have 135 dudes. You only have like 13 dudes. And we don't even have 13 dudes because of our scholarship limitations due to the NCAA being ridiculous. So we have less than 13 dudes. And then you see a bunch of guys transferring out that we did not anticipate transferring out. Now, I know some people are trying to convince me that this is a good thing. This is Mike Boynton just cleaning out the closet. No. That's not precisely what it is, but that's okay. It doesn't matter as long as we have the ability to rectify the situation, or maybe not even necessarily ability, but just the willingness to do so. I think we all knew that there's a pretty good shot Woody Newton was going to be gone. I think we all knew there's a pretty good shot that Avery could be gone. And if Avery was going to go, then Caleb was most likely going to go. But I don't think any of us expected Musa Cisse or Tyreek Smith to be going anywhere. Why would you leave Oklahoma State when you have a top 10 recruiting class coming in, knowing that there's still the transfer rule out there? So now you're going to have to get hardship waivers to play next season. How is it worth Willing sitting out another year and not playing basketball? How's it worth it? As opposed to staying another year. and seeing what this ridiculous class could become. It doesn't make sense. But nonetheless, you've seen a lot of guys that we were in on that we'd offered. They've decided progressively to choose other places of Oklahoma State. And a lot of these dudes had us in our top 3, top 5. Right? So we keep swinging and missing until now, finally, we got one of the top point guards out of the transfer portal, 4-star guard, Javon Small from East Carolina. We didn't utilize our big men very well whatsoever last season. We did not. So them leaving is not a massive surprise. There was a little stretch where we decided to run everything from down low, inside out. And I don't know, you watched Caleb Boone explode for like 18 points a game during that 7-8 game stretch, right? And then Musa gets like fully healthy, and we completely abandon using the big men again. You would think when Musa Cisse come back, that would be even more of a reason to run everything through the big men. We didn't do that. So them leaving, again, not a massive surprise when you kind of piece it all together and put it in context. So now we're at a position where, yes, we have this phenomenal class coming in. I mean, you got to think about it. So we've now got 4-star transfer Javon Small, a 4-star guard Justin McBride, 4-star guard Anthony Daly Jr., who is one of the top gets in the country, and then 4-star power forward / maybe a center in Brendan Garrison. And then you have 3-star Connor Down, you have 3-star Jimron Keller. It's going to be a good squad. There's still going to be reasons to be excited. And I guess the only reason that I'm somewhat okay with losing the big men is because we didn't utilize them, right? My fear there is it now means we're going to screw ourselves out of opportunities with a lot of other big men, because we had a big man in Musa Cisse, who was a former 5-star blue chip All-American. If things would have went very well for Musa in Stillwater, I think that attracts a lot more big dudes to come to Stillwater. It didn't happen. So I'm afraid this might hurt us recruiting big men like Musa again, but I could be wrong. Mike Boynton, it probably shouldn't be questioned when it comes to recruiting. But, guys, this was a huge get. Everybody wanted Javon Small. I know Texas A&M was after him. I know Auburn was after him. He was on OU really hard. I know Cincinnati was on him very, very, very hard. He's a big get. And he's exactly what we needed, because if we don't know how to utilize big dudes and we lose all of our big dudes, that now means we must become a shooting team. And this dude averaged 16 points a game, 5 rebounds a game, and almost 6 assists a game. And he hurt his knee and only played a certain portion of the season. He was very, very sought after. He was graded out 4-star prospect as the number 71 overall prospect available. He's exactly what we need. He's a point guard, a true point guard that can facilitate, but he can also shoot, right? He dropped 23 against Cincinnati. He dropped 21, 22 against Mercer. And at 6'2", 185 pounds, it's not like, he's a shell of a human being. He's got really, really quick feet. He has this like really long Euro step that doesn't look like it should come out of a 6'2" guy. He eats up the paint in just 2 steps, and he does it kind of with this fluid floating style of motion. And again, the almost 6 assists a game, that's huge. He did have double-digit assists throughout some games this season. But there's a reason he averaged 16, 5, and 5. He's a steal, and he is exactly what we needed. Right? We needed somebody who could facilitate. Okay, got that. We also need somebody that could shoot. And he finished 35, 36% shooting from the three-point line. 47% shooting from the floor. 86% from the free throw line and almost 100 tries. So I gotta be angry at the fact that we lost all of these necessary building block type of pieces, right? The foundational side of your team. That sucks that we lost a lot of that. But this is the type of guy that we knew we needed. This is the point guard that we've been talking about all offseason. I didn't think it was going to be coming after we lose a Musa Cisse. I thought it would be coming with the asset of a Musa Cisse. But it is what it is. I hope the young guys are ready to rock and roll because they sure as all get out are going to be playing a significant amount of minutes this year. It is what it is. But football recruiting, that is phenomenal news. The word on Nardo continues to get better, even in the high school coaching circles. Give credit's due. Looks like Gundy found a gem on this one, y'all. All righty. Till the next one. That's all we got for this. I love you all. God bless. Go Pokes. Thank you for tuning in to make this your first listen here on Locked On Oklahoma State. All righty, y'all.